Next up is item number 4, request to address the board. First on my list was Spencer Topfer. Welcome, Spencer. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm here tonight asking for you to review and update your disciplinary standards and policies for Midland Public Schools. I come to you as a concerned community member and, more importantly, a concerned parent. The interim superintendent is quoted as saying, "The people who make our district great, from bus drivers to teachers and building support staff and coaches and many more people along the way, we take pride in how well we serve the community, and we understand how quickly we can sink into mediocrity if we take our eyes off the goal." I'm afraid we are on the cusp or just beyond the sinking into mediocrity stage. You see, the MPS Code of Conduct lists 35 prohibitive acts. The Code of Conduct further states, in every case, the school district will consider restorative practices as an addition or an alternative to suspension or expulsion. I am fully aware children aren't perfect, nor are they expected to be perfect. I am also painfully aware that restorative practices, while by and large should suffice, lack the necessary consequences to correct poor behavior, bad choices, etc., and leave much to be desired. Unfortunately, this topic requires far more than 3 minutes to address. One might subscribe to the broken window theory, which simply states visible signs of disorder or misbehavior only encourage further acts. As a parent, I expect my school district to provide and foster an environment where my child can learn and grow. However, I am made aware of instances of vaping, theft, vandalism, scholastic dishonesty, and failure to comply, just to name a few. The same names come up with consequences that are far too lenient, evidenced by the same infractions committed by the same people over and over. Restorative practices do have their place, but I am more concerned with the district and their overall lack of support for staff. Teachers can write all the referrals they want, but behaviors rarely change. Instances that should result in suspension or even expulsion appear to be kicked down the road, and the fix is simply to transfer the student to one school or another and start the whole process over. Revamping the code might be too much of a lift. Perhaps you should support staff and school administrators with the fair but judicial application of punishment. The goal should be to correct behavior, but if the behavior or actions are not changed, do not sacrifice the rest of the student's ability to learn by keeping the bad apples in the mix. Students will learn more, and let's face it, teachers can spend more time teaching instead of drafting referrals or babysitting the troublemakers. Think about the teachers having the support of their own admin and admin having the support of the school district. That alone will lead to higher morale and a better outcome for students and staff alike. Teachers have a hard enough time without always being second-guessed or treated guilty until proven otherwise. The news recently posted Miami Beach spring break restrictions made the city safer, calmer, and busier. Imagine that, setting rules, enforcing the rules, and it equates to adjectives like safe and calmer. Imagine a classroom or even a school in general where the rules were not only enforced, but in such a manner that promotes learning, keeps the educators, staff, and children safe. That can be Midland Public Schools. As a board, I implore you to reevaluate the disciplinary paradigm. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us, Spencer.
Thank you.
Joe Bonadies.
Greetings. My wife and I have been coming to these meetings for over 2 years. Speaking for myself, I've learned a lot along the way, many of which I've been very disappointed in. During the early stages of the superintendent search, there was much discussion about how Sharrow was undercompensated. Since Midland is exceptional, we did not go to the mean, we went to the exceptional end of the spectrum. We used Troy as the benchmark, which is 60% larger than we are, and we came up with a salary increase of 72% to $320,000, with a 20% bonus possible, which would double Sharrow's pay plus related benefits. And then we selected HYA as your search firm to make sure you had a good coverage across a large area of geography as well as demographics. The justification for these actions were summarized well by Mr. Lauderbach as, quote, "We don't want the usual suspects." Just something to consider as we move forward. My wife sent you all a long letter several weeks ago. Seems that the Thrun Law Shield you all put up 18 months ago needed some supporting documents to be legal. They were not there since the previous document was dated September 2022. After repeated mentions and the long call-out letter we received another denial that there weren't any issues. So keep paying the clairvoyant actual bill generated before the actual FOIA records were collected. We did notice that the new policy miraculously appeared and updated on September 27th, just before the long overdue response to the letter we sent in. It just didn't acknowledge the cost issues mentioned in the letter, but does send us to court, so you guys don't need to be bothered. When the interim superintendent called my wife, she neglected to even tell us of the new policy. She also said MPS will continue to charge for the agenda package without proper justification, thus still not acknowledging the documentation requirements in FOIA. When my wife asked why her aforementioned letter was not on the agenda as a letter to the board, we were informed that there is no policy that all letters be included on the agenda, nor in your package. We knew emails sent to the board members were not acknowledged on the agenda, and now we know actual USPS and hand-delivered correspondence can also be excluded as well. We were apparently deluding ourselves that the agenda indicated a level of public interaction with the board, so yet another opaque appearance of transparency. Lastly, your superintendent timeline talks about Wednesday's meeting and a decision by April 16th. I would like to know when you all will have your public discussion for that decision. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Bonadies. Renita Bonadies.
Good evening. Given that there was already a motion in a prior special meeting, this board seems very determined to hire Ms. Miller-Nelson for the position of superintendent. Your job is to hire the most qualified candidate to lead. We're asking why this board is settling and paying top dollar for someone that is not fully qualified according to the board's own job description. We heard how she doesn't really have the financial background, but it was laughed off with, that's what we have Brian for. Again, do we pay top dollar for someone and expect someone else to fulfill a critical part of their job? If you did not get a good candidate in the pool, the board needs to ask why. If the district is in the top 5%, why didn't the top 5% of potential candidates apply? When funding changes drastically and hits a fiscal cliff, what will MPS do then? Can Ms. Miller-Nelson really navigate the overhaul that would be needed to the curriculum, staffing, and overall driving forces of the community stakeholders to make the hard decisions to accommodate these changes? Or can she adjust to the budget and spending to handle all of the lost federal funding to MPS? These are the real conversations that need to be taking place, not that she's really nice and everyone likes her. Although Dr. Reed may not have a long tenure with MPS, as was noted by the board, he's what MPS needs at this time. He's been in many different school environments and positions, which gives him a vast understanding. He's the type of person to bring this community back and put the focus on all scholars. We've heard many times over the past 2.5 years of attending board meetings about the LGBTQ and the elite students, the 5% that have the loudest voices in support of the community stakeholders. What about the rest of the population? The lower income and disabled students, the 35%, seem to be kept where they are because the district gets more funding by having them in this category. Where are the programs to raise them out of these situations and help them grow as scholars? Dr. Reed has implemented real solutions to help a much broader segment of the student body and their families. He said, I really believe in making sure that we're preparing our scholars for the future, and something that's critical to me is meeting scholars where they're at. That comes with belief. As far as financial background, Dr. Reed has 42 schools and 3 charter schools under his purview, where he has supported curriculum and managed a budget of $700 million. He has implemented cost-saving strategies focused on hiring diverse staff and collaborated with new college partnerships to increase retention. Look at the real background and skills to take MPS to new levels, not just tweak things. Some have knowledge, but some have knowledge and a vision. The choice is simple. Choose knowledge and vision. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is John Kowicki, and I wasn't going to say anything because of that gentleman that isn't here anymore. I said, now's my time. 4 months ago, let me put it this way. I love Midland. I absolutely love Midland. Of my 77 years, 73 of them have been put here in Midland. After military, I came back here because I love Midland. 4 months ago, I had the opportunity to run into the Dean of Boys from Midland High School in 1965, and it was a privilege for me because we came up with a set of rules and regulations, and if you violate the rules and regulations, you had to go see this man. We were out to dinner, and I said to my wife, I said, you see that man after he's done ordering? And I went out and I called his name out. I reintroduced myself, and I had a wonderful experience. And what I said to him was, I want to thank you for setting up an atmosphere of discipline, crucial in our society today. Our children, my youngest child graduated 35 years ago out of the Midland school system. It was different. What young people have to face today, we didn't have to face that when we were young. And I've talked to a number of people since I met with this Dean of Boys. I said, do you remember problems in Midland High School? Dow High School hadn't been built yet. And they went, no, we had a wonderful experience. No, we had a wonderful experience. No, we had a wonderful experience. Because there were rules and regulations, and if you violate the rules, you had to see him, and he was fair. And his wife was with him, and I said, here's the deal, you were more than a teacher. And so we had a little conversation, and the guy's 93 years old now and sharp. He remembered, he said, tell me what year you graduated, and he talked about different people he worked with. It was just a privilege for me. And she said something to me. She said, you said something that was really smart. And I went, oh, you better refresh me on that, because nobody ever says that to me. And she said, you said they were more than teachers. And I said, I stand by that. They were more than teachers. And, you know, it's a different world today. And my dad gave me a spectacular piece of information when I graduated. He said, here's the deal. You need to know this, son. You are going to, when you go out in the world, there are people that are going to criticize you no matter what you do. I'll bet you fell face that. No matter what you do, you have to know what you stand for. You don't violate your basic principles, and hold the line. And Midland is a wonderful community. That's one of our problems. It's so darn good that a lot of people don't want to even challenge things. I only got 4 seconds left. Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you for joining us.